Hi everyone, Tori here with another Scrap Your Scraps video. This one is called Crimper, and the reason it's called Crimper is because I'm using a paper crimper, which is what that green and yellow thing is. You basically just feed the paper through and then turn the knobs on the side and it crimps your paper. Now, I borrowed this crimper from a friend from church, and I actually have no clue what brand this is, and it doesn't actually have any branding on it, so sorry about that. But I know that Fiskars has a crimper, so if you look on Amazon or maybe at your local Michael's, you might be able to find it. And there are different ones. Some of them make bigger crimps and some of them make smaller ones. This one makes pretty small crimps. So I started my project today by grabbing a bunch of scraps from my scrap bin, well, jar, tin, scrap tin. And I'm grabbing bigger ones that are sort of in blocks or rectangles because I decided that I wanted to cut them into strips and then crimp the strips and then use strips on my page. So this is pretty sped up just because I didn't want to make you have to wait for a really long time. But basically what I did was I just cut each of the papers into a 1-inch strip, and some of them are long, some of them are short, and sometimes I had to cut the paper to make it straight or to get rid of a little extra hanging off piece, but all the strips are about 1 inch long. Now, you could totally do this with strips of different sizes. I just knew that because I was using so many busy patterns, I wanted to sort of keep the size of the strips about the same because I figured the busyness of the patterns was already enough going on the page. So I'm just going to skip ahead. So after I've cut all of the papers into 1-inch strips, I just feed them through the crimper and turn the knob, and it crimps them all the same size, like the same crimp size, and it's pretty easy to do, and I mean, I don't know, getting my frustrations of the day out on my crimper. I thought another fun technique to use with the crimper is to have different paper sizes. Like, I've used rectangles, but you could totally use squares or circles or diamonds or any kind of shape. I think it would be fun to crimp it and see what it turns into and what it looks like. And I know in the video you can't really see the crimps, but up close it just adds so much dimension, and it's a really fun element on the page. And it actually sort of ties all the papers together because, while they're all very different patterns, the fact that they all have the same crimp in them helps them all look like they go together. So once I had crimped them all, I arranged them on my page in rainbow order, and then I'm just going to use my hot glue gun to glue them all down. The photo that I'm using is an old family photo and it's really dark, so I wanted a very bright, colorful background so that the photo would pop more and that it would just still be bright and colorful. So while I'm doing that, I just wanted to say that some of you guys are really awesome. Actually, all of you guys are awesome. But there's some of you who are extra special awesome because you scrap lift my pages, and I just think it's really cool that you do that and that I have inspired you to make a page. So the last couple weeks I've given a couple shout outs, and I wanted to give a couple more shout outs today to people who have scrap lifted my pages. So, first, you should go over to the Nicole Jones Facebook page, and in the top right-hand corner, there's a search button, and if you search my name, like Tori or Tori Bissell, or Bissell, there will come up a whole bunch of pages of people who have, like, scrap lifted my pages, / my pages. So, okay, so the first person I want to give a shout out to is Marsha Underwood, and she has scrap lifted a couple of my pages now, and she's super sweet. Last week I gave her a shout out, but I said her name wrong, so I'm giving her another shout out because I want to get her name right, and I want to get everybody's name right, I guess. She recently did a page of her daughter with a horse, like horseback riding or learning to ride horses, and she used the branding strip technique from last week, which was really beautiful page. And the second person I want to give a little shout out today to is Melanie Daniel, who scrap lifted one of the very first Scrap Your Scraps videos, the one where I had punched out circles and then folded them into like little squares. And her page is super cute. She actually used a 6x6 paper pad from Simple Stories, and so all of the patterns look like they go together really well. And that page is really great, so you should definitely go check out that page as well. And then there are other people who are scrap lifting my pages too, but I think I'll just stick it with 2 shout outs for today. But everybody else, thank you so much for your kind comments and your thoughts, and for scrap lifting. It really means a lot to me. So let's dive back into the page. What am I doing here? So I took all of those papers and I put them down in rainbow order. Well, sort of. It's not exact rainbow order. And I just sort of let them all overlap. Some of them go all the way across, some of them just go over little pieces. And then after I was done, I just ruffled up the edges a little bit because I just wanted that to be more dimensional. And so this is my photo for today. It's a photo of my sister and I when we were little kids. And this was one Halloween. We were dressed up as mimes. And I don't know what it was, but that year we both decided we wanted to be mimes. So we wore black from head to toe, and we painted our face white. And then we had like face paint drawn on, like for tears or smiley face or something like that. And we thought it was like an amazing costume, and we were really proud of it. But nobody knew who we were. Every single time we would go to a door to trick or treat, somebody thought we were dead people. Like we were not real dead people, but that we were pretending to be dead people. And we were devastated. Like, I just remember Courtney and I being so upset that nobody understood that we were mimes. And we didn't even talk. We did the like, I'm in a box thing and everything. And we really were trying. And nobody got it. And it was so devastating. And I think it's hilarious that we dressed up as mimes and nobody knew who we were. And then they all thought we were dead people. Which, like, why would 2 little girls dress up as dead people is beyond me. But, yep, it was really a sad thing at the moment, but a hilarious memory. So I definitely wanted to scrap that and put it in my old family photos album. So, I mean, you know, things like that happen as you're a kid, and at the moment it seems like the end of the world, but when you grow up you're like, I'm glad we got a picture of that because it's a funny memory. And I love that my sister and I dressed up the same, and I don't know, it's sort of funny. So I'm just going through embellishments now, adding embellishments. And the way that I'm adding my embellishments is by following the color coding that I've done on the back. So I have bins of my embellishments, and they're all divided by color. So I just go through each bin and pull out anything that matches those colors or that I want to put on the page. And I've got some tabs, some tags, some chipboard, some cork board, I don't know, different arrows and things like that. And I just sort of stuck them all, arranged them on the page, and then I'm going to glue them all down with my hot glue gun. And I love the way that the color on color embellishment works. I find like I love adding lots of embellishments, but sometimes it can end up taking away from your photo. But I think when you add your embellishments on your page, like in the same color families, like color on color, then it ends up sort of blending together more, and it doesn't end up taking away from your page in the same way that really out there embellishments might. So next, I grabbed some of my Flair buttons and I stuck a few of those down. I find it hard to use Flair buttons sometimes, so when I can use multiples on one page, I really like that. And then I felt like there needed to be a few more buttons, and I added a couple resin flowers, again in the same color families on the page. And I love that it just sort of adds even more dimension because it's more the chunky embellishments. So, I wanted to give another idea. I know that some of you don't necessarily have a crimper, like I didn't actually have one, I borrowed it from a friend. So one thought or one idea of what you could do is you could crimp the paper yourself by folding it back and forth. Your crimps would probably be a lot bigger because it would be hard to do really thin ones. But that's an idea if you don't have one, or maybe you know someone who you could borrow it from. Or you don't even have to crimp the paper. I mean, I did, but another idea, if you didn't want to, is you could just cut a bunch of strips, like 1-inch strips like this, and do sort of like what I've done with the background where you layer them all over and on top of each other and everything. So, just a thought. And then I'm just going to finish off the page by adding my journaling, and it's just about how we dressed up as mimes and everybody didn't know who we were and how we were devastated, but it's a funny memory and all that kind of stuff. So, while I'm finishing that, I just wanted to say thank you everybody for joining me. I hope I've inspired you to use some of your scraps, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!